Hi everyone, welcome back into the studio. Okay, welcome to part 2 of this where we're going to be painting and working on the hawk. I hope to finish it. If not, I'll put up a part 3. It depends on how much detail, and I really want to make this guy shine, and I really want to show you all that I can in it, so we might even have a part 3. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. But it has been a couple of days. It's actually been 3 days since I filmed that last one. And I did stop just because we had such a huge storm come through here. And it lasted for the last 3 days. And we had 70-mile-an-hour winds. And it was just howling here. And so I stopped. So I've refreshened my palette here. And I got everything ready to go. And it's a good opportunity for me to tell you, where do you begin back in through here? Of course, we want to work on him. And sometimes, with the acrylics, they dry a little bit matte. And so what I'll do is I'll take a brush and I'm going to take just a little bit of extender. And you can see this just wakes up the colors. This is what the colors will look like in here when they're wet and when they get varnished. So you'll be able to see it. Just wakes them up a little bit. Now, I don't want to put too much on because I want my paints, I love to paint on a matte surface where the paints grab and stick. And so, but I do like the colors to wake up just a little bit. And it allows me then to see just how much I might want to do. Like I might want to build another cloud right in here. But it's just barely on the surface. No puddles whatsoever. Let it soak in a minute because it will soak in, because the surface is matte, and then I'll be ready to go. And I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to use my small, I like my number 2 filbert. This is a really great brush for working small areas like this. And I really want to come in, we've just started to block in and develop him a little bit, so I want to come in and work a little bit more in there, okay? So, and I'm going to be using a wide variety of colors. I have out some open medium. This is the Matisse Deravan open medium that you can add to the paints to give yourself even a longer working time. But I'm going to try to paint this mostly acrylic, which means, I'll be letting it kind of almost dry up at some points. I'm not going to be working very wet on wet. And I want to come right up underneath here. So he's going to have this yellowish eye ring. And I want to come up underneath there, and I want to impart a little more shadow, a little bit grayer than that. But see, this is the thing. I constantly, when I want to get a lot of interest to a painting, I constantly change these tonal values in here. And I'll use my fingers to kind of push them through. And see all that little light modeling you get in there? That's what I'm looking for. That's what gives him an air of realism to him that I want to impart on here, on him. And so I'm going to come back in here, put a little bit of that. Now that's slightly bluish, so I'll slide over just a little bit warmer and model in a few little touches. So you want that modeling, that back and forth, those little touches to get in there, and that's what's going to give him great interest when we're done. So he's turned and he's going to be hitting the light here and stuff, but I'm going to do this in here a little bit darker than what the reference photo shows, because I'm going to give a little bit more contrast to that eye. And so I'm going to work it just a little bit darker than what we see. And I want to put in another dose here to help this cast shadow that's going to be here that we want to develop. So the sun is coming up from here, and this big ridge on his face just really does create quite a cast shadow into the eye socket and down through here, which is what I want to portray. And I'll touch a little bit more. See, I'll just keep this modeled in here because that cast shadow is hitting different types of feathering, and that's where the interest is going to come. So, we really want to keep that modeled. Now, I really want to also develop that. I'm going to rinse that out because I have blue, and if I go to Hansa, which is affected really quite a bit by other colors, it will go greenish on me, and I don't want this to go greenish. I'm going to take a little bit of my Hansa and my Diarylide and a little bit of white here and develop this light that comes down and don't cover up everything we did the other day. And we're just gonna so we're coming through and enhancing some of our colors. As we go to the rounded part, as we start to head over that rounded part there, we'll tap in a little bit of Diarylide and Yellow Oxide to the other side. Tap into that nostril area there. And maybe even just a little bit of color. So I thinned it out. Walk it into his beak just a bit, so you don't get a line. You want these colors to, shift and change. Let's put a little bit more in here, and this is where you separate really the professional artist from the hobby painter or hobby artist. Is the professional artist will take the time to add these little tiny subtle details. Now most people won't pick up on them, but it's kind of fun. And even if you're a hobby painter, it's a lot of fun to put up like I did on that owl. Okay, I have that owl lesson. You just take your painting to the next level. You just slow down. I don't care if it takes you a month, but just slow down, have some fun, because this is fun, and just paint the bejeebies out of it. I mean, really put everything you know as an artist into it. And so now I'm going to take this yellow, add some of that shadowing color here, model this up, and I will increase right into here. Now I don't want to lose all that gray. So see, I put that back in. I almost touched that. I don't want to use that until we really get to the feathers. And then I'll lighten up here just a bit. And let's just tap a little bit of this light through here. See, almost like little hits on little feathers and little areas on his face that just get some of that interest in there. Okay, let's, so good grays, good gray feathers, blues and burnt siennas, a little bit of red and greens. Those are beautiful. Those are also beautiful grays. Look at those beautiful grays it gives, okay? All these grays. But he is just a little bit more bluish. So that's why I'm keying off that a bit more. You could have some red in that blue as well. We'll make that gray a little bit different. But see all these different grays in here. That becomes important. Now that's got a little bit of a glare there, so I'm going to lift this up and see if I can get rid of that glare there for you. Here we go. And we'll come in here. We'll add some of that gray. Isn't that pretty? That little bit of gray right in there. It's really going to make his eye. Now, let's take that up a step lighter. Okay. Maybe some of this is going to go up and over here. Some of this down here. There we go. Now, I might have taken that one stroke a bit wide, but that's okay. A lot of times, and I've told you in a lot of other videos, especially if I'm painting flowers and stuff, I paint over and I paint back and then I refine the edge. It's this crossing back and forth that gives you all the various tones and interests that we want to have into the painting here. So let's just tap a little bit of that. That works great. Let's put a bit more dark right in there. A bit of dark right up in there. Let's refine this gray, light, maybe a bit of our yellows here into his eye down here, especially in the light struck areas. And then we had that cast shadow, but I'm going to go up into that shadow a bit right there. Okay. And we'll tap a little bit lighter. So see, I want to, even into his eye here, the iris of his eye, I want to give some of those variations. Maybe a little bit of this blue is gray right in here, which you get, if you look real close at the photo, you'll see he gets a little bit of that line all the way around. Now, it's hard to do the line, so I'll put that on, and then I'll wipe my brush and come back, and what I do is I paint over with it with the light to narrow it down where it needs to be. So sometimes, and you know, it used to be earlier in my career, I would look at putting the line on with the liner brush, a small little liner brush, and then that created a line, a perfect line, and an edge, and that edge of little paint that comes from using a round. And I would always, sometimes, if I wanted to break those edges, like I told you, edges are the most important things, guys. Edges are the most important thing. And so if I wanted to break that edge, I had a hard time because there was texture from that little round brush. So I started painting them this way, back and forth. And so I'll put it on with a bigger brush, bigger than what it's supposed to be. And then I can come back and tap the light and dark, work the edge a couple of times until I get the edge the way I want it. And let's get a little darker violet right into the bottom part of his pupil here, right where we really want to see that, right in there. We'll understate this over here, but we will put a bit of that in there, maybe a bit of that purpley, bluish purple with some sienna in it, and just to say we did a bit of the dark over here to hit that eye over there. Softer gray coming down right up underneath there. So it has kind of the same thing, but that's very understated. We don't paint it very much. Let's put a touch of a lighter color right up here on his head, right up over his socket of that. Right in there. So we'll put that in there. And while we have that, let's go a little lighter and build some of the socket. I'm looking at that photo up there. We'll build this. And see, that's a little too light, but that's okay. I'll gray it down now. And sometimes I'll pull back to get rid of that little edge and paint into it and see this, and not take all of it out, but that's what adds all of the little brush interest. And see, that's the kind of technique we want to use in feathering him and everything. So it's kind of like I'm painting on too much. I know I'm painting on too much because I'm going to take the next color and paint it into position, if that makes sense. And that really, really works. And when I started doing that more, that's when my animals really started coming to life, and including my flowers and everything. So let's put a little bit of yellow back into that. So you get all those lovely transitional tones in there now. It doesn't take too long. Yeah, it's a little bit of work, but it doesn't take too long. We can get this out of here, get this done. Let's put just a touch or two of that light in there. That does that for him now. And I want to get that nice. I'm going to take some extender and work this into the brush. I'm going to take that violet color, blue, violet, nice cool color violet, maybe dirty it, just a bit of the gray. I'm going to thin it with some extender so it's very thin. It's a glaze. What we call a glaze, a thin application of color. And I'm going to come right up underneath that eye here, pull just about the width of this number 2, and cast that cast, or put that cast shadow into that eye. I'll take just, I hit some light right here and it carried with me, so I'll just tap it right back through his socket there. We'll just deepen it just a bit. See, it's little tiny stuff, but we'll deepen that just a bit here with it, up against that ridge. Now, his eye, see where it's slightly oval there? It's a little bit more than the original. He's more up and down. This is side to side. That makes him look a little sleepy here, and we don't need a sleepy hawk. So what I'll do is turn this oval upwards just a bit with a little bit of the light iris color right up here, up onto this side. We'll tap up into that just a bit, okay? And then we'll take some of that darker blue and here and this violet and just deepen that oval just a little bit more, maybe a touch more here, touch more, a little bit of burnt sienna into it will help it gray just slightly. There we go. And yeah, and I have a touch more of the gray in this light that I can work back and forth here for just a second, just to soften those edges of that pupil. A little bit more light. See, it's just small little touches of color. I'm identifying where I want these little touches of color here. Just back and forth. And sometimes you'll put it on, cover up something you did, and get to go back and do it again. But then now we'll just take just a corner of our little number 2, not pure white, just a little bit of gray in it here. And we'll put the catch light, which will come from the light source, which is going to be right about in there. That little catch light into his eye, which just brings it to life. You don't want it pure white, because that'll be a little too distracting. And then I can, now if you have a hard time, you know, getting some of these dark tones and some of that stuff in there, you can go to a smaller round. Just be careful that you don't get too much ridges of paint. The round can leave ridges of paint, and that can make it really hard to get back up over that later on, okay? All right, let's take a bit of this light. We'll cast it down his nasal passage here. Just a bit of that. That puts just a touch more in there. Let's put a little bit of this light. Has a tiny bit of dirty brush yellow in it, which I like. And let's add some final light so I get this real nice contrast of lights and darks up there right on his face. Now you see that just really coming forward. Really, really comes forward. We can put a tiny little bit of a catch light over here. A bit more, just small strokes, not quite as light, because we want to paint this understated here. Okay, just understated there. Just to make it, that makes his turn. Does that make sense? That's what we're doing. These beautiful grays. And see, I'm painting acrylic, so this is really dry. But if I want to use that color, I can add a little bit of water like I've showed you before. See, a little bit of water, and it'll just reconstitute this, and I can use it again. If that bothers you, which I hope it doesn't, because part of being able, you know, there's one thing I always tell all my beginning students, and I tell everyone, I don't care if you've been painting 20 years, train your eye to make tones, and you train your eye to make tones by constantly having to make them. And so I'll make it again and again and again. I know that color. It's blue and burnt sienna and white. And it on one side it has a little bit of green and a little bit of violet or red, and it just makes beautiful grays. But the other thing about your painting, guys, and some people say, oh, that's just a lot of work. No, the other thing that's very important about your painting is that changing those tones, it's like working little half tones that I show you when you're painting a rock or something else. Taking the time working those tones and those subtle little variations, because that tone isn't exactly the same, is what gives life to your painting, okay? I used to think, oh, I make this color. How do I make that color again and again and again? No, you don't want to. You want it in the same family, but you don't want the same color. Does that make sense? So get used to doing it. But see how this is reconstituted again? I can use it again. We can do that, but I don't always want to do that. Does that make sense? Now, I'll add a few little streaks in here of this light that is going to be, you know, working that gives him his light and dark striations into him here. And let's put just a touch more of this, maybe right up over the edge of the crown right there of his beak. That's great. Let's take a little bit of this gray here, and let's just work this little valley ridge of light right here a little bit more. Tap this through. Don't get rid of all those other colors that are in there. And then let's go back with that burnt sienna and blue here. slightly different gray here. Boom. And let's just tap a little bit of that out. Now his beak on that photo, reference photo, slightly bluer than the color I just made. So I may want to add just a touch of blue right up here and gray into that. So his beak is, we get a good dose of this bluish gray here into the beak, which, and it will pull down because he's got the plane here, really shows this. So we'll pull down with this bluish gray, a little bit drag over that other edge there. And let's just put in a little bit more light. So this is like when I'm painting a really detailed painting. You know, I love to do this. This is the part I just sit down. I have myself a bit of fun and paint like this. Back and forth with, and every little mark that I make enhances him another step. A little bit of brown came out there. Burnt sienna, that's awesome. There we go. And my chair has picked up a squeak here. I noticed it in the last video. So time to get out the WD-40, fix that squeak before it drives some of you nuts, and then you'll make a comment on it. So okay, let's put a little more dark right up under here. That just brings that, maybe a touch right in there like that. So I got that a little heavy, and now he's smiling. We need to push that gray up underneath that there so he doesn't smile. He's a bird of prey. He doesn't smile quite as much. Yeah. Here we go. We don't need him smiling there, just like that. Okay, good. Good, good, good. That, now, the other thing, his eyes opened up more, and he's got a nice, pleasant look to him, but that's not really the hawk. They have more of a stern look to them, and that's going to be right here. And I can adjust that stern look, so it's got to come down right here a little bit more. And that's what gives him that stern look. See that? See how his look starts to change a bit? And then, so you don't give an arching eyebrow to him. You give him more of a downward slope here, which that makes him a little bit angry looking. So we'll fix that in just a bit there. Okay. And it's up to you how angry you make him, but that is all controlled by that arch that you do there. Let's put in some light marks here for some light feathering into that. Some of this pulls back, right like that. Maybe this more powerful angle stroke out like that. There we go. And but it's this downward arch here, and if I want him even a little bit more angry, then I'll join these two little smaller lines together to a more, or with just a little more light. Join those together, and you'll see he gets just a little bit more. And if I really want to do it, I'll restate that shadow here on the eye. Let's just take that blue and violet here. Restate this just a bit here of that shadow in the eye. And yeah, that will really, and you see it's a cast shadow there, so I can even have it as a more harsh line. Go right over that catch light just a bit. A little bit more of a harsh line, so it casts that shadow. That really brings him. Okay, good, good, good. So let's take some of our gray. Let's push this back right out through here and down. Here, a little bit more light with that warmer gray right here. Now, his cheekbone comes in right here, so we'll have some strokes coming back out this way. Let's put those in. Okay, and they come back out this way. Here, boom. Get some of that movement there And a little bit more movement of light here, just coming, circling around there. Let's lighten up those cheekbones. One more little time right in here. Just quick marks here. And so I'll put that on, see, and then I come back with some of my burnt sienna, maybe a little yellow, maybe a little bit of the blue and gray into that. Some of the colors that we'll see here. We'll move some of that through there. And then we go darker. Burnt sienna and the blue. This is a good dark one right in here. Let's redefine this shadow right here a bit. But then pull some of the darker marks. So we're actually creating smaller little feathers right in here. And you can take these off just a feather. See the edge of his head? How I take them off just a bit to kind of loosen up and feather up his head there just a bit. And some of this will come right back down like this, and then his cheek and stuff after his cheek, and it goes right down into his neck. So see, I start to build, and all I'm doing is with my lights and my browns and stuff is following the contours that I see in him. And as these colors override, they don't have to be necessarily wet. You know, they don't have to be wet, guys. Everyone thinks, oh, it's got to be wet and I got to blend them together. No, we're using small half-tone colors, half-tone changes. And so they don't have to be wet to get those half-tone changes. As long as you're close. So we'll go a half-tone here lighter and restate some of that light right in there. And then I can always push it with my fingers to soften some of that out. But it's all those little color movements and building and building and building. Remember, and if you haven't seen anything like this, I have a full, this is like 28 lessons, 28 videos, 20 videos of painting a full Dutch 7-layer, what's called the Flemish technique, a full 7-layer technique, where you paint these beautiful roses and grapes and everything, and there's no blending in it whatsoever. It is done with layers of color. And that's why when I started painting acrylic, I started learning how to layer my colors. And that's when I really wanted my colors to dry faster. And because it gives me more depth into the layers. Let's put some of this dark. So I'm using just a chisel of my little number 2 here to draw some of this through here. Okay, looking up there once in a while at my reference photo to see where some of my darks and cast colors are going to be. Okay, and we can build it. I could build this cheek up a little bit more. So let's go a little bit lighter, using just the chisel of the brush, and just put in a few little light strokes here, just like that, and you'll see him get just a touch lighter. Let's work little half tones over here, coming down. He'll get a bit of the dark right in here. See this small little mark, just boom, 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 and lift the pressure, lift the pressure so they fan out a little bit. So your touch, let me show you here, big. Okay, so I have it in my brush, it's a little bit stiff, but if I touch it here like this, so I whisper, touch, lift off, whisper, touch, lift off, and I get these edges, and sometimes I'll just grab it like this and push that edge. And see how feathery that looks through there, see? And that's all I'm doing with these marks. Okay, and we're going to do it with some bigger marks here as well. But that's all I'm doing with these marks. So this, let's just deepen that just a bit. I'm just like looking at his face. This totally controls his expression. Let's get just a bit more light right there. Those lines right there just totally control his expression that he has. Now, he also has a little catch light on his beak, so we'll just take a soft little gray white, not pure white, but a soft little grayed white, and we're just going to tap a little bit down the edge of his beak there. Maybe smear those together a bit. And that becomes the little catch light. You can add a secondary, maybe we'll add a little bit of a secondary light, just a catch light through here, right at the top there, just little bits of the shines. And that just makes them look a bit more realistic. You know, they get that little bit of shine there, which is great. Now, let's come down and let me just show you this working into a bigger area, okay? Working into some of this area. Now, you can add a little extender. Now, the reason why I'd add extender is just because I love how it slides over the surface. But I'm not doing this to keep the colors wet. Let's make a soft gray. So burnt sienna, blue, vary the gray. A little bit of red, a little bit of yellow. These grays have got to vary on this bird here. You can add this, which keeps it even wetter, longer. But I don't really need it. So I'm going to make this, and this is going to be about, value-wise, this is a good, it's going to dry to a good 7 here, okay? So I'm going to come in here, and see, that's just a pretty gray. I don't want to lose everything I did before. So I drag it up over that edge, right? Now, let's come in, step off to the side here. Let's take our burnt sienna and let's add a few little marks just with the chisel here of the brush. So I'm going to add a few marks just like this through there. Okay. Let's deepen it. Burnt sienna, a little bit of blue here. Deepen those. Now, when the colors get lighter, get darker, they get smaller. So now we'll just tap in a little more burnt sienna. That's a little too blue. That's better. Little marks here. So what you've done is you've put on some light marks and some dark marks. Now, see, if I take this, I can blur it like this. That's what gives you those beautiful blurred colors together. See how that just kind of blurs in that area. Now, so that works. Those colors. Let's add a few more little streaks in here. Little chisel through here. Boom. See, just barely glazing the surface here. Let's add a few. Remember, follow his contours. What's going to make this pretty is the contours. You have to follow the contours that you see. His neckline is going to come down here, slowly changing this way. That's where you got to see those contours changing. This is going to change this way. Now, for those of you that are acrylics, that are new to acrylics, if this bothers you that it dries too fast, see how this is dry? It's dry, and I just lift off and I granulate. This is called the granulated stroke. See that right there? And I can pull through, because that's nice thick paint, pull through and just soften those edges. But that granulated stroke is what gives you the beauty to it. Don't be afraid of your paints drying. Because ultimately, what do you have, guys? You have water. I can take this, watch, I can take this and just a damp brush, I tapped out some of the water and just pull through, and look at how I can blend that. I can softly work this and blend that down if I wanted to. Just softly over it with the damp brush, because water is your solvent and it'll make it all work. Does that make sense? So work one small area at a time before you move over. Don't try to do the whole thing. Work one small area at a time. Now, let's build up. So this was our gray. Let's go gray with a little light. And let's build this area right in here. So we'll just touch in the light, right? Boom. Now, that's a little harsh that's right here. So I want to push that up. Now, I can push that up right now because it's really wet. But if it isn't, what I want you to do is just take some drops of water, put them down here on your palette so that you can take your finger or a damp brush. You don't have to use your finger. You use a damp brush and just push into it like that. See how I soften that out? Boom, there. That color gets softer in there. And so I can come in here, I like to use the chisel, and I can work these other colors just like this in through here, touching them. See, that's hitting a dry area. It doesn't bother me. I'm not wigging out on it. I know that I can reconstitute that, or I can tap my finger into just a little bit of water and push up and soften that whole effect, just like we did with the clouds. See? I can just pull like this with a little bit of water and soften that entire effect there out. Now, usually what I do is, as I'm going to get smaller, I'll go back to a smaller brush and start some of the smaller little feathering. So I'll go back with white, just a little bit of the gray in it. And I may use this smaller in here with some textures. Sometimes I like these textures to get in here. And I just come in and build the lights, the shines that I see in those feathers. And maybe build a lighter area right across here. Don't try to, don't make them too stripy. Just some light areas pulling through some of those feathers. And so I may use the chisel of a big brush and the small flat or small filbert. This is my number 2 filbert, which I just love for doing this kind of stuff. And I'll let it start building some of these other areas. Let's get a little bit more of a gray up here because we don't want to get rid of that cast shadow. As a matter of fact, we want to build that cast shadow a little bit more of a line, like you kind of see his beak in that shadow a bit here. There we go. That cast shadow there. And you might pick up a softer, little grayer color where that light is in there. A little bit lighter. That's pretty good. Let's build a bit more light right down through here, which is part of his area that's going to come forward. See, I'll just build this. And yes, this is dry right here. And you can just do this. Get yourself a nice little bottle and just mist it. Just beep, boop, just a couple of times there. And just touch it lightly because it's going to move really easy. Just touch it lightly and help it move. And that works as well. But change sizes of your brushes because you'll do different things with them. Change those sizes. Work those. Let's go back. I like that brush. Love that brush. Let's go with like a number 6 or a 4 flat. Let's build this up in here a bit. Right up in here. Boom. See, I like that. I like that just glazing right over some of that brown. So, and this brown right here is dry. I can bring it back with a little bit of water, see? But I don't mind mixing it again. I never have. I love to mix because I love how it changes. My colors change when I mix. So let's put a bit of this through here. Okay, down in here we want to go a little bit more yellow into it because it gets these beautiful yellows in here. And see, this is how fast I love to work. I'm going to add just a little bit of extender so it slides and it gets a little bit transparent here. I love that. Let's take a little bit of that yellowish sienna up here, okay? And then this is how fast I normally work when I paint them because I like to paint multiple layers and do these things several times, but I like to work through like this. So see, I'm envisioning the feathers and then how those all just kind of come together. But the most important thing is you're painting the contour. You're painting his contour. Does that make sense? And we'll just take let's put a little bit lighter, maybe dose of these feathers coming off here, slightly off to the side, because his head's turned just a bit here, just like that. And a little bit lighter. I'm looking for how light my lights are, where the sun hit is on him. And now is the point where I don't copy my subject. I am just painting for my own interest here. Looking at the edges, softening the edges. I can soften anything with a little bit of water if I need to. Let's take some burnt sienna. Let's come down here and we'll make some of the feathery marks different sizes of them through here. And add some of those through here. The thing is, get variations in their sizes and placements here. That's the most important part of it. Vary those, and almost like little triangles sometimes, shapes. There we go. And then I'll pick up some softer, it's not quite white, a little different, softer yellowish white here. And we'll add a few little marks of that color. Building that. Building this way towards this shoulder. But you can see, I build these things several times, see? That's what I'm working on, building these several times. You can, he's got shadowing underneath his chest feathers here, like this, that we're going to add. But see, I'll just blow through some of those edges, soften out some of those edges. We can make some of the darker marks, a little burnt sienna and blue. Some of these darker marks here, okay? Little bits of them. Little chisel of the brush. Here, just little darker marks here. You can see him start to come here. Here we go. Let's get a bit of those right up in here. Boom. See? Coming down. Just now. Also here, see, I can just drag through. Boom. See? Boom. Boom. Just to soften those edges there of that. That just looks amazing. And let's take a little thinner of this. So I add some extender, thin it out, just so and this is where you can do the shadows, the rounding shadows of some of those larger feathers now. Just come down, the light is to the top, shadow is to the bottom, and see, I can just start to shape up some of these larger chest feather areas here on him. And again, I'm going to paint it impressionistic, so I don't need to copy every single one that I see. But here like that. And yeah, he's so you can get a little bit more shadow right in through here if you want. Boom. See, and then I can touch, and the thing is that makes them pretty is using different finger marks, using different things, and different brushes, different things, and that's what really gives them so much interest. A few more little marks here, some of our burnt siennas and blues, more marks here, just boom, here, more little shadowy marks. Yeah, that's pretty on him. Maybe a little more light coming through, and some of these now. And see, it's thicker paint, and I'm just dragging the surface here. So just dragging it like this, and then I'll smoosh it in there, just push it. You could use a damp brush as well to push some of that in, and I'll start to build right where the light is hitting on him here. Maybe some of these into a more traditional feather shape if you want here. So I'm building light and dark here. There we go. And some of that light, so I see that light that's right up there. Some of that light we want to maybe hit right up here on the top of his head. Now that we're getting some of the light on him, you'll see some of that light, and look how that just makes him just come to life up here. Some of those light and dark marks here. that are so great. A little bit of light over the edge of that eye. Maybe just a mark or two here. Boom. And let's come down this side a little bit more. This really helps him turn his head. There. And I'm going to put just a little water here. Let some of this dirty up a bit as I come up towards this shadow. There. And so what I start to look for is just good. I don't want it to be like stripes. So there's some areas I will just widen out the light a little bit more so it doesn't look just like stripes, if that makes sense. I don't want it just stripes. So I'll build some areas of light, even though it's going to have a few dark streaks in there, some areas of light here. That is the shine, really, you know, of his body and stuff. So we'll build that up. Maybe a few more little marks. Just a few little marks in there. Like that. A few more darks, lights and darks. Here. There we go. Softer, that's dried up, so I just add a little water, reconstitute it. Get some of that softer, yellower color there. Paint through that again. Right in there. Let's build back and forth with the color. Let's go back to the lights, a little bit of gray here. Build these up again. Just like we did on the owl. Remember we did that owl? And we built and built those colors on that owl. Built those colors. This gives a roundness to his body, which is great. And, you know, a light and a nice light and almost like a flatness across the front of his chest, because he's got a big chest right there. So build that a few times. Maybe a softer gray again. See, it's dried, so I want this gray. So I just add a little water. I'm going to grab that gray and just add a bit of that. See, it's back and forth like this. This is what makes it pretty. We'll add some of those colors right in there. Now, again, you can come back in and shadow. Like you'll see, like you look back up there, you'll see those big shadows right in there, that this kind of curvature there. And so you can take your burnt sienna and blue and just pull down those big shadowy tones from those feathers to shadow the roundness, to form shadows from those bigger feathers, and add those in. There'll be some more, like a bigger one right up here, body feather shadows here. And you can add some of those in there and start to define him up a bit. How much you do, that's up to you, but you can see how it's done. And then how much you do, that's completely up to you. There, we have that. And I want to put just a little bit of that lighter gray in there. Now, some of these, instead of curvating so much, I'll pull down slightly, because that's really kind of the contour of his body here. And it just puts a different kind of look to the feather as well. So it's not quite so smooth and round that way. See, it's a different look. So I constantly, everything I do, guys, is I'm looking at the flow, the contours. It's just no different than painting an animal or painting a rose. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, how do I get really good at roses? And I've told you guys, is that I've painted animals. I started looking at fur and stuff and how it contours. And then that's how I shaped the petals of my rose, to make sure that they contour and makes the shapes come together prettier. So by painting all different kinds of subjects, you're teaching your eye how to see all these subjects. Does that make sense? So many people say to me, oh, I just want to paint your flowers. I don't want to paint anything else. Well, you can do it that way, and it'll take you 10 years to totally understand it, or you can paint a few animals and stuff along with me and see it a lot faster because you're teaching your eye how to see contours. Let's build this up a bit. Here. There, like that. Maybe a few little stutter marks of light. In other words, just little light, touches of light. That just gives a better impression of that. There. Let's take some of this. Now that this is dried up here, we'll soften the edge with a little bit of sienna. There, a bit of those colors coming in. That's quite nice. Here, let's get that burnt sienna blue and set that shadow right in there. That's pretty nice. Good. Over here to the side, he has some nice whites right down in here. So I'm just going to push some of those on. Let's paint this slightly different. Some whites. Let's go into some burnt siennas and just drag right down into. Remember, we already have, we don't want to drag too much. Just let them touch it. We already have it blocked in. So now we're just kind of feathering him up. This is another way I like to do it. And I'll just attack it with a light color like that. And I'll go back and forth between my colors. Let's go back up here to this gray. This light, this gray. Let's put that light right back up in here. Couple marks of it. Restate the brush. Couple marks of it here. Boom, like that. Okay. And we already have that dark, but let's take that dark stroke again. Dark blue and burnt sienna here. Just like that. Just leave that light to dark there. And his light wing comes underneath here. That's just a light stroke there. Maybe a few little dark marks, breaking it up here. Quick, light against dark. Here. Just like that. And then we'll put that dark here underneath. Like this. Just like that. Now I think I'll probably add a little bit more light right in here. According to that reference photo, it gets a little bit lighter right in here, so I'll just drag that. Now, if you want, you can touch a little bit of water, but I'm going to leave, because on the reference photo, I see these real quick light to dark, so I'm going to leave a little bit light, pull this up here just like that, and leave just a couple of little marks. See those little marks? Just add a little interest to it. So, and then we're going to have, let's take a bit of extender, some of our blue and burnt sienna to make that gray. And let's push this back, more white but grayish, because we're going to have this right back in here. This is that shadow line, because it sits back in shadow back there, see? So I want to give the impression of the shadow there. And you can make it super realistic. I mean, you just look at the shadow here, a little bit more blue here. That kind of just touches and moves up here in different amounts. So you leave like little bumps as it's hitting different feathers. And we'll push this shadow line in here a bit more. Here, like that. So you get the feeling of this sitting in shadow. And this real nice, almost pure white here. Right up here, marked, just boom. Maybe a few little marks right like that. That looks pretty good. Let's take some of this grade right to the edge, which will make this contouring edge here of his chest. And see, some of this is going to go down into shadow, all down in through here as well. So that shadow color we can use all down through here. And so you're going to basically have this going in light and in shadow. And the light is going to be quite heavy here. So, but that's what I want. So, and you can accentuate that, guys, by coming in here and like right through here, he'll have like the edge, and then you just stop. And, you know, sometimes an artist will accentuate it more than what you actually see it, because that, you know, they'll do that because interest comes from light and shadow. So like you may stop it right here, and then, you know, the shadows pick up underneath here. So you can have some additional shadow then starts to pick up here, these shadow tones. And so the viewer picks up light and shadow. So build that a couple of times. Maybe build that light stopping right there for light and shadow. And where that shadow is, his body, his form shadow of his body is stopping. So you're picking that up right up through here, see? And now he'll have more yellows and stuff up in here. And of course, that's, again, that's up to you. You can also add in this. I put it out here. This will keep this color wet for a long time. And I don't, you know, I love it in some things, in some landscapes and some things. I love it more than for anything else in the fact that it just, see that nice, beautiful yellow glazing over that. It's really pretty. I love it more than anything else because it makes it slippery and wet, a little bit of transparency, and it's fantastic in putting in some, you know, some transparent layers and stuff. So let's put a little bit of light. Just see how it just goes right over the surface here. I've got tons of working time here to bring in and work some of these edges. And I do. And, you know, it's like I tell you, I'm not afraid at all ever to paint out and put back in again. That is just something that I do. I don't mind doing it and working it back and forth several times because it's a, you know, I look at painting as a refining process. That's what I do. I refine the image. I put it on and then refine the image here. So I never worry about redoing something. Let's go a little bit darker. But that open medium is fantastic stuff, but you got to be a little cautious in that when I like to do this and I'm acrylic painting, is that it'll keep it wet for a long time and you can blend it, and I don't necessarily like it blended. See, I can push, but it's real slippery, so I can put it on and I can push in different, you know, location here, push this way, like I said, pulling some of these down to give that different look to that feather, see? Boom. And I'm just building this again here. So let's just pull that down. And maybe just a little bit more bluish here. But the open medium works really well, so I'll just grab this and add this into this. Sometimes I'll even thin it down with a little extender, and I'll get that shadowy shadow and tones here. This is a little too severe dark, but it's okay. It'll work for right now, right in there. And so it feels like a shadow. Let's get a bit of it right in here so it picks up more of that feeling of that shadow there from him. And to conform that, let's put just a bit of it right up here into that cast shadow. So I have it mixed up here, maybe a little bit of extender, and you can see the difference of it, see? And let's bring that shadow line right down through here. That's going to come underneath this wing and pull right down onto his feathers there. Let's just take this all in shadow here. And I'll paint some other things because I like to, you can, you know, with the Dutch, we did what we call glazing on the shadows. And I like to paint my shadows positively, which I do now, what I'll show you is what we do is we paint them with an actual tone as opposed to glazing them. I like to do that now. Now you can do both, but that's where I am now in my painting careers. I like to paint them what I call positive. So I'll mix the tone here. So I'll mix this white with this and get this real darker kind of grayish tone that I want to have right in here that will make it look like it's shadow. Rather than glazing the shadow, I mix a tone for that color that belongs in that shadow. Does that make sense? And then what really is going to make the shadow, let me show you this because it's really neat how it happens. So what really makes this shadow is the light that's going to come right down here and stop at that shadow. See? And then you pick up the grayness from the light further on now in this in the body here, and this will come down here just like that. And you know, having a little bit of extender or open medium just causes that to really slide, you know, sometimes a little too much, but it slides. And let's build that light, maybe a little open medium. Open medium, those of you who haven't painted with it yet will love it. It causes it to slide. It will. It can. The dangerous part of it is it can cause you to overwork a color, working it too much, and then it all becomes one color. One reason why I like the acrylics and that they go quickly. And, you know, I mean, they dry quickly and I can't overwork the color. That was one of my problems for a long time. Let's take some of this shadow. We'll come up and we'll just follow that contour there. See, I'll just soften the line here, just like that. So it's this body shadow coming down through there. And we'll take some of this warmer little color, just a few little marks right in here, but we don't disturb that light too much. So we leave the light dark demarcation line, the change between light and dark is pretty quick, and that's what really gives that. So right up here, these will turn, we'll get some nice lights right up by the edge of the wing. Okay, some really good lights, and put a little yellow into this here. Some real good lights, maybe some heavy textures, because this is a good spot where the hawk's coloring can really come forward. Let's get some burnt siennas right in here. Some heavy burnt siennas. Little marks right in there. Okay, and then burnt siennas and blues. Let's get back to those real darks right in here. Quick little exchanges like you see on him. I'll blur. Remember I talked about during the landscape, I want to blur this whole back edge here and keep it lost so that your edge is going to, I want to really bring the viewer right here, and I'm going to do that in just a minute. I'll show you. Okay. I want to round this edge over a bit. Just a bit of shadow there. And some of the real darks from these marks right down in here. This is really going to create the contrast. It helps really bring that wing forward here where those shadows, lights, and darks are. And we'll get some of these real nice blue and black. You could add a little violet into some of this. Let's put the long stroke of the dark. Some of that right in here. Don't try to copy it exact. Just give the impression of where those darks and stuff are. Don't try to copy them. It's too much work. And it'll make it stiff if you try to copy too much. So let's just add some of these real nice, beautiful darks in here. Just like this. Nice thick paint. Darks, little marks. Here, little edges. You can add that open medium or just water or a little extender. If you like the feel of the open medium, remember one thing, that open medium will make it dry really slow. It'll also make it slightly transparent, so it makes it harder to get some of the marks in there. Let's take a bit of this right back here, that real dark that comes right in here, that helps that wing, and we'll, boom, just like that. Look at how it just brings him forward. It's going to contrast all of this, which will soften off still. We have to do that. But it just brings that forward. Let's grab a bit of this dark right in here. A bit of that coming right here. A bit of this right on the edge of his leg, which I've almost lost. It's okay, we'll just resketch it. And some open medium, maybe a little extender. Let's thin this all out here. We'll just thin this out. This is the cast. This is the form shadow right here. This is a cast shadow right here. Cast shadows are shadows caused by the object casting its light down. So, and then we'll make a soft little gray. Then we'll positively paint that light with this color as opposed to just leaving that shadow like that. So now you'll get the feeling of that's a whitish color right in there. Maybe a bit more right in through here. Get the feeling that this is all light color that's just sitting in shadow. And sometimes I will make that a little too dark, or we could have a slightest little bluish cast to that, you know, which is kind of nice. The shadows do sometimes pick up those cool colors. So we can just touch a little bit of that, almost like a reflected light that you would do in a still life. You know, you can have some of that here, down like that. Follow his contours. Always, always follow his contours. Just put some of that in there. And then let's go back up to some of this light and warm, maybe a bit of open medium. I just love it how that just strokes. Open medium is just great. It just strokes on really nice. But again, I like this up here, which is acrylic and stuff too. So there's just all kinds of ways. Let's just put this light. The light is hitting right down in here. And that's really good. So we'll just, and see, it's with that open medium, it stays super wet and slippery. I can just hit it like that and get a lot of those interests coming down through here. See? So if you haven't tried it, you need to get some and try it. But, you know, it's better. It's over in Paint It Simply, I'm teaching you how to paint acrylic. And my goal, you know, and so onto that website and on that channel, my goal is to teach you how to paint acrylic and really get used to painting in acrylic. And then when I'm going to transition you into some of this stuff, and you're going to go, wow, I can work this color forever. And you can use water and blend the edge and do all of that kind of stuff. But after I get you, because that's how I came into it. I came into it cold turkey from oils into acrylics, and it took a lot of getting used to. And for years, I kept trying to make my acrylics act like the oils. Instead of painting acrylics as acrylics should be used with acrylic techniques, I kept trying to make them do oil techniques, and I kept running into just frustration. So I changed. And now, of course, and I'm really, really happy with my acrylic techniques that I do with the painting. So I want to teach you guys acrylic techniques, and then we'll do a little bit of the slower drying techniques, and you'll be amazed at what they can do. That's my plan. So we'll add a few little curved feathers here, a few little curved feathery marks there, and a little bit of dark there like that. So we'll get that in there. Seeing all of that interest, that's just wonderful. Let's put a bit of that blue burnt sienna right up here. Little white blue burnt sienna Here, some open medium if you want. It's just a different, feel the difference between both of them. That's what we do. That's a little too gray, so let's just go straight acrylic burnt sienna. That's pretty. And then we'll just slide into some of this light and just kind of tap it right along the edge there of that wing, which brings that wing a little more forward. Pick up even a little texture. Just tap some of that along there. Push up and pull back and create this undulation into your colors, which adds a tremendous amount of interest there. There we go. Just like that. And we'll take some of this grade and light and we'll push this through little marks through here. And you can push them together a bit to soften the edges. Remember, it's all about the edges. But just create some more of those little feathering marks. Slightly bluish down here as it's heading into the shadows. Here. There we go. Down like that. Some burnt sienna, maybe a touch of yellow here. Right up in here. Boom, right like that. That looks pretty good. A little lighter. Let's get a little lighter here. Some smaller little chisel marks. Here on the wing. That looks pretty good. Build that up a couple times. Burnt sienna, yellow, and now I'm painting light color back over where my shadow was earlier. I'm not using very good palette control today. I'm just kind of mixing it around. It makes it a little harder, so sorry about that. And this is where you always say, do what I say, not what I'm doing. So we'll take this. I love the burnt sienna and the Diarylide as kind of a lighter, but yet it doesn't have as much power because it is, that Diarylide is semi-transparent. So that transparency really kind of comes through. So you can see here, I'm just building and marking this wing up a bit with some of this. And we can get more of a perfect feathery type of stroke here. So I can put some of that in like that, see? And then I'll come back, burnt sienna, maybe a little blue, and paint back down through that to set some of the shapes of feathers, but take out some of that evenness to that line, see? And then I go back to my darks. So this is how I like to paint. And so I go back to some of my darks, reset some of those darks, slightly different than I did before. Maybe take them more in a line. You could follow more directly as the painting if you want. I don't always do that. I kind of start creating my own feathering of the bird. You can take these light and I've shown you this in so many of my books and stuff. I call it the feathering stroke, where I put the light to the outside there, and then I'll take a model brush of like the shadow and paint up to the line. That makes your bigger flight feathers, your primaries, secondaries, tarsals, and kind of sets them all, a little bit more. Let's set some light here with some of this, a few lighter strokes coming down, a little bit more burnt sienna into that. Get the feeling of these secondaries and stuff in there. That's kind of pretty. Let's get those, restate those darks. Yet again, those real darks, maybe a little red into that too. Real darks here, and right up here Yeah, those are pretty. Maybe a couple of the marks following the feathers. And some smaller little marks as they get up here, little chisel marks. There we go. Maybe, you know, you get those almost like little striped kind of marks down here. Cut across the colors. Here. There. And maybe a softer, a little bit of blue, a little bit more blue, gray. And almost that, so, you know, a couple of values, change, you know, change, quick little marks, just quick little marks. That is so interesting in painting. Now, let's look to our highlights here. So we're going to bring a light in and just kind of pull the edge of the wing in like that. And this is where, if you're going to develop texture, this is where you do it. Right in here. This textures will help that come forward on his wing. If you have to go back and reset a, you know, a softer edge in there, right like that. That texture though will really help bring that wing forward. We have just that bit of shadow here that's right there. It sits. Let's put that in a little bit more bluish. So it feels like this is the wing, which it is. And, you know, the wing is so thick that it's headed into shadow. If that makes sense. So let's go a lighter blue. Here. Just like that. And if you need to, you can get some of that shadow in there underneath the wing. But let's take some of this blue here. A little bit bluer, a little bit more burnt sienna right in here. And we'll use this to create some of these little bands of light back up underneath here, the little shadow bands of light. But it's in the shadow, but you're still seeing those little bands there. I just don't always use one color. I'll come back with a second little color just to add that extra little interest, but make sure it doesn't go too light to take that away from that. Let's just push some of this right in here. There we go. And some of that right up to the edge here. So you get the feel of shadow. You know, where's that shadow? I want to have a bit more of a harsh line to that shadow, that cast shadow line. So I'm just going to take a bit more right in here and just kind of draw that line right now. And just kind of work that together there. And yeah, that works a bit better. A little bit more heavy right in here. There we go. Bit more of that shadow. There. That's better. So it gives it a nice cast shadow. And again, what really makes the shadow more than anything else is when you come right back up next to it there with that light. So, you know, you have the light going right up next to the cast shadow. This is the cast shadow from his wing. And then it slowly gets darker here as it goes down. Right down in there. That works. Maybe a little bit more light. The original has a little bit more light right in here because the light's coming down this side of his body. This is perfect area for texture too. If you wanted to get some of that texturing in there. Right in here. Boom. Okay. Right up next to the edge of that shadow. Just boom. Right up to that cast shadow there. Boom. There. That works pretty good. And then, of course, we'll go down onto his feet. I want to put in a few more light marks in through here. I'm going to redo this again. Not all of it, just most of it. No, just some of it here. We'll push that in. And then I'm going to reset a light. I love the light burnt sienna and that Diarylide. So I'll set a few little smaller marks of this. This is up into the light, so you get those kind of orangey burnt sienna strokes of his. Can get a little more, we can use that Diarylide in here to give it a little bit more punch to the color, a little bit brighter to the color, a little brighter, a little warmer. And we'll add a bit of that through here. And then as it heads over to the other side there, we'll let it diminish down. But a little bit, maybe a little mark or two right up under here like you see in the original there. Just a little bit of that coloring in there. Makes him quite nice. Okay, and then some dark. Let's go first, burnt sienna. Let's make some marks of a little bit more chiselly marks with the chisel of your brush. Here, right up through little marks here. That looks better. Boom, right down through. A few little marks here. And if that doesn't soften up to it, what do? You can mist it and just spray a little water and it'll soften right out. Let's grab a bit of again, work the burnt sienna and blue. See how many times I work some of this, guys? This is what, and back and forth, and it seems like, but here's a couple of reasons why. One of them is that by working it here, you're finding your way through the painting. Does that make sense? I don't always know until I'm in the painting how I'm going to do something. I don't sit down and always, I should, but I don't always sit down and think through the painting of what I'm going to do. I'm just curving here a little bit. See how that brings that curvature to the wing here. Right in there. A few more little marks here. Right up in there like that. You could refine his marks even more if you want, but I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the way he's looking right now. I'm liking it. Here we go, a few little lines. Down through like that. And then, yeah, and the question is, do I want to bring some of those up a little bit higher? He's got all of these marks. Do I want to just push? See, just a light, barely touching the surface here. And I don't need to blend these out because I'm just barely touching the surface there. Adding those little marks. And then we go back with a softer grade white here. And sometimes I'll lift up into those and just soften their edge. Sometimes I'll put a heavier stroke down. Build more of the feather look to it. Here, like that. You can see how many times now, for a couple hours, hour and a half at least, I've been building on this, right? But you look at the size of the painting, an hour and a half isn't that bad. And I'll just lightly glaze over some of this and sink some of them in, to the surface here. There, like that. And of course you can do more of the rounding. He's got a little bit more rounded one here. And you just do this. You just take a little bit of your shadow. Let's thin this out with a little extender. And see, that extender is not reconstituting that enough. So I add some water and boom, up it comes. So we'll just get this little gray here. And let's just add a little bit more of these curvatures to some of these feathers here. Little curved shadowy colors. See? Right in there like that. Right in there like that. So you can give more of those, that feeling of those if you want. that curvature there. That's pretty good. Gray this a bit. Just give the feeling of it there. There we go. Just like that. Okay. So yeah, that works pretty good. Now, down below here, onto his legs, this is where we'll come right back out to white again, right along that edge here. And see, and don't blend the edge. Leave that kind of quick and harsh there because he's coming out of shadow. Does that make sense? And let's go right with our yellow and burnt sienna here. Let's just add a couple of quick little lights down the leg here. Little taps there. So see, he's coming right out of shadow again. And it just works. I want to put, that's dry, so I'll add a little water here. And I'll just work it a second, and here comes back that blue again. I want just a little bit more bluish color. And remember, it'll be a little light, but it'll dry down. There we go. Just a little bit more right in there. And maybe just a touch more here onto his body. So you see the body and the leg there. Just a touch, just a bit more. And there's the edge of these lights, which is the back, his little, I don't know what they call the feathers that are coming off of their legs like that. But let's put that on, a little bit grayed into the shadow back here for that light. Right back there. And some of the sienna and yellow. Right back there. Maybe a little bit darker. Now jump dark up there, here. Not using very good palette control today. Let's just put a little dark there. A little dark on the front line of this. Here. That works pretty good. A little dark down in here. Boom. Yeah, it looks like, since this camera, I keep saying tape. For many years I made DVDs and stuff, and we use all these little cassette tapes, but it's the chips. It's the little SD chips, all the cameras filmed to it. So on this chip, I've only got 24 minutes of video left on this one because we film in 4K, and that just takes a tremendous amount of space. So I got 24 minutes, and I can't finish all of that in 24 minutes. So there will be a number 3. But I thought it was important this time. With so many in my videos, guys, that I show you, is that I do quick little things on it. But I want to take this channel to where we paint. We try to go through the majority of the painting together, so you see everything. Because a lot of you are telling me, I paint along right with you, And I think you get a lot more if you do that. And so, if you don't mind, that's what I'm going to do. So, and if that bothers you, just put me on fast forward, because I'll still paint very well fast forward, okay? And if you don't like me talking all the time, well then, you can mute at the same time. Some people say, oh, you talk too much. But I like to tell you guys how I do everything. These are just the little marks here because, and it's like this when I learned how to do, I'm going to talk for a second. But when I started studying portraits, and I really wanted to learn how to do portraits, and, Sandin, and John Howard Sandin, fantastic teacher, very much left brain, so I can identify with it. And I started, painting with it, and I started painting along. I didn't paint the same portrait he did, but I followed his general construction method, right? And I learned so much. And then it became time, even when I was in the studio just painting by myself, I would put in his DVDs and just listen to his language, to his verbiage, to what he's saying. And I picked up so many things doing that. These are just the little marks that I'm going to add here. Try not to line them up, but it's just a little blue and burnt sienna. And let's get a darker line right in here, coming out like that. And you can blur these slightly with your hand when you're done. Just blur through them, you know, and you can see it just sets those in. It's really nice, but don't be afraid to have real quick changes of lights and darks. But I think, and you know, like what I just said there, don't be afraid to have quick changes of lights and darks, you know. And it may take you several times hearing that till you finally start to do it as an artist, you know. There's one thing between understanding it and another between doing it and not falling into your habits. We're just going to put a few of those. I like those little marks. They just add so much to him. And I'm really enjoying painting him today with you guys. So, yeah, I'm gonna do one more. So please forgive me. I'll do one more. I'll get it on in the next day or so. I'll film it right now, but then I'll have to get it on. But you know, it's my 12-year-old granddaughter is graduating today, and so are the other 3 from different classes. So I got to go watch that this afternoon as well. And fun stuff. Lots going on this time of year. But let's add a little dark. But see, that's what you want, these quick change of shadow lines, because it looks like that cast shadow. I can build this one probably a little bit more, deepening that shadow a little bit more. And, you know, you can do it by a glaze as well. But let's take some of this. I'll thin this out a little, and even a little extender medium. This kind of grade, bluish grade color here. And let's just drop some of that down onto this tail here. And then we'll build. Now, I want it slightly bluish because it's into a shadow, so slightly cooler. Okay, let's see where we go here. So you've got to, it can't, and it's the white, and what determines how much you can put on this is how much light you have in your painting. Does that make sense? Okay, so how much light you have in your painting determines that. Let's go a little bit blue in this and push that darker stroke right down here. There, that's pretty good. I want to really define that blue, dark blue burnt sienna here. That edge of that wing a little bit more. I can just whisper some of this through here. Keep all of these edges on the tail very, very soft. As a matter of fact, I'm going to paint it a little softer than what is shown on the actual painting, because I want this to really have a lot of depth to it. So sometimes in the photo you pick up even more. Let's put a darker cast shadow right underneath here. These are some of the final things that I'll refine, some of my values, my darker values here. Okay, a little darker there, a little bit of that dark, but he's just coming so fun here. Yeah. And a painting that was like this, boy, guys, when I first started out, it would take me a couple days to do it, you know. And now what, you know, I have 2 hours into him, 2 hours in, so I'm 4 hours into the painting. And I feel pretty good about, not quite 4 hours. The last painting was an hour and 40 minutes, 45 minutes, so an hour and 45 here. So, yeah, we're at 2.5, 3.5 hours. So that's not too bad for a painting like this, really. I mean, you think about it, I used to just work on this stuff. And a lot of that is going to come to you with time, experience, knowing what you can get away with, if that makes sense. You know, there's a lot of stuff I just don't worry about. Let's just make small little light gray marks right in here. And that mark, as you touch and you lift off, you let the fusion brush be really, really soft. This is what it's designed to do. These kinds of marks like this. So, but we'll really give it a nice dose, more white, right here next to this cast shadow mark. So it's coming right out, so you get the feeling of that sitting right there. We'll just pull down slightly, getting that feeling of that cast shadow. Does that make sense? And I like that. Let's get that light feeling right up here again. Just a quick little mark of it. Boom. Heavy, maybe even a little texture right there. And maybe stutter it as it goes down, hits a little light, hits a little light. You know, little light parts of the wing as it goes down, and then finally down into shadow. That is where you get a little bit more of your realism when you start painting like that. Doom, 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 and let it come down into shadow. Do you know how long it took for me to see that? I would just paint light and shadow. Now I just like, okay, here's the light, boom, and then diminish, diminish, disappear. And that's what I start to say to myself. Diminish, diminish, disappear. And it works. Let's put just that little bit of the edge right there. See, we'll do more of that. But see that little edge, see what it does against the background. It's amazing, you know, and that's what I started to try to look for in my painting, is starting to find all of those little marks that really make a difference, you know. And little, like that light and shadow. Let's go right back up here. Let's find that light. That light coming off of his head right there. And right up in there. That cast shadow, as it's going right up a little higher. This gets into a bit of the form shadow here as well, but we'll let that come right up by that cast shadow right up in there. That cast shadow from that beak there, that shadow line. Maybe from his head, his beak there, that shadow line right there. That helps the viewer see where that shadow is, if that makes sense. Yeah. Just fun little stuff, guys. And sometimes I'll take a break like I'm doing right now from these feet and stuff, and I'll go back and add a little bit here and there through the rest of the painting. I kind of like all that. I should, here before I call it on this one today, or for right now, put in a bit more light. You can just tap through here. Let's get this up and in here a bit more. A few streaks of this right in here to say that's the feathers, the feathery strokes of his legs here. Here like that, those little feathery strokes, a few little marks here. Right in there. Doesn't need to be too much because all the interest is going to be right up in here. And I want to see if this will build this stroke up a bit more. Let's see how that plays. Pull that down. That is pretty. That's building that contrast that I want to see up there. Don't go around a few of those little marks there. That's building that the way I want to see it. Right in there. Let's put a half tone, which is, I'll just use a little bit of the open medium and some of this gray here. Let's put a half tone softer there. And that open medium just allows me to slide my finger there. I don't want to do too much and blend it, but because I don't want to lose those feathers. But that's really kind of pretty, and if I track that down like it, you watch that on his body up there, and you watch that, it kind of tracks down, so that light, it hits right up here. It's hitting right up here. It's coming down. It's tracking down, so we can track a lighter couple strokes of it let me go a little more white, a little more texture. And this is just a touch and a lift. I don't want to paint out everything. I just want to add little marks of light color tracking down here, if that makes sense. Let's lift some of that off of that. So that light is coming right back down through there. And really, on the original guy, he's really got a lot of light. Let's do the light right in here again. One more time, right up next to that cast shadow. Here. Down like that one more time. So you really pick up that light coming down and through. There's so much fun to paint, right? And the thing is, guys, is I've been doing these wildlife now heavily like this for about 10 years, and they've improved so much. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do with you guys, if you allow me to, which I think would be fun, is I have a painting that I did in 2015, 9 years ago, and it didn't turn out so great, but I loved it and I kept it. And it's got damaged. It got damaged a little bit in the move out here, coming in from Pennsylvania, and I want to bring that in and show you what I was painting like in 2015, and I'm going to paint it again today. What I paint with today, so you can see the difference of it. And all it is because I paint completely different from what it is. And I think maybe that'll help some of you, because some of you, you have a problem. We all do, though. We have a problem with our confidence in painting. And that will help some of you see, well, this is where I was, and I get excited when I do stuff like that, because where am I going to go? I mean, and where am I going to be in another couple years if I keep studying and painting like this, And so, yeah, it's fun. See, I leave those little marks. That's what really makes a difference. Let's build that little bit of light right here. A little bit heavier. Boom. Maybe even just a nice textured stroke in there. Just right in there. Leave that. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Right up through there like that. Get that nice light. See that light coming through. Should have a little bit of yellow in it, but we can add that in the next layer. There you go. So I'll come back on one more video. Sorry. We're going one more. We'll put in the branch, his feet, and we'll put this all in. And but I like the way that he's looking there. I might just come in and add just like a little bit more boom lights right up here. That's just the little marks. That's what really gets him that extra little bit, maybe. And then, so we'll do that into the next video. We'll come back and add a few more little things, on him. Finish up his feet and stuff, and then I'll go over back into the landscape and set some of that in with the landscape. But yeah, oh, and one last thing, and I've got 6 minutes. So we'll just maybe take a little bit of this gray, a little blue, a little gray, a little bit of this, and I'll add extender. And this is the other thing you can do. Put extender on it here. Let's just put a little bit of extender on this, because that wakens up the cloud. And like a lot of the wildlife painters do, like I told you, in mountains and stuff like that, let's just take a look at it and see. We'll just whisper on a bit more edge of a white cloud right here, right down towards him, so it plays a little bit more light right there against him, and that brings him even more contrast. Right in here. We might do this a couple times, but just right in that area where I put that little bit of dark, and then we'll let this diminish down. Dirty finger. See, I like that little bit of extender on the surface. I can lay those colors in here and build those up a bit, and build up a lighter second cloud right in here, and it just looks great. Little marks, little bit in there. It just looks great. But see, all of a sudden he is just like, boom. And you want to really see him? Well, now you really see him. And if you don't like it, you can glaze it back down. But we won't judge until we get some more stuff on here. We're going to take some of this atmospheric down into here, soften some of that out, and build all of those grasses and stuff. That'll be on the next one, along with his feet and him standing on that thing there. But that's a good look at it. We can come back and add some more, okay? So if you like the series and stuff, guys, do us a favor. Help us grow our channel. We appreciate it if you like and share, like the video, because as we get more likes, YouTube increases its distribution. So, you know, if you like learning with us here, like the video, share it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Go over to our Paint It Simply channel and like the videos over there, you know, and just watch some of the, even you more advanced artists, watch some of the acrylic painting of it before I take you into some of the more, you know, extenders and all the stuff that we did. We're going to learn all of the acrylic ways in which you can paint using that water and the mister bottle and all that kind of stuff, okay? And then you'll come back over here doing this, and it'll be a lot easier, all right? Okay, so thanks very much for joining me, and I look forward to, we'll finish this up. Matter of fact, I might be able to film no, the kids will be here in 20 minutes. So I will film this up tomorrow. I'll finish this up tomorrow and get it up onto the site as soon as possible. And I have a new river rock one coming over on the Paint It Simply channel, to river and rock, and showing you how to do that with that broken color and pure acrylic. It's a lot of fun. All right. Thanks very much, guys. I'll see you on the next one. And we'll come back and finish them. I'll see you then.